The ship moved through the darkness like a small light in an endless ocean. It was called the Horizon's Edge, and it carried 47 crew members through the cold emptiness beyond Neptune. They were on a simple mission: bring supplies to the mining colonies. Come back home. Nothing special. Captain Jinho Park stood on the bridge and looked at the stars. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. He had been flying ships for 23 years. He had seen many things, but the universe, he knew, always had more to show. "Captain," said a young voice behind him, "we are picking up something strange." Jinho turned to look at Ensign Taeho Lim. The young man was only 24 years old. He sat at the communications station with a confused look on his face. His fingers moved across the controls as he tried to understand what he was hearing. "What kind of strange?" Jinho asked. "A signal, sir. It is repeating. But it is not in our database. It is not human." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Not human. Those two words hung in the air like smoke. Lieutenant Hana Yoon walked over from her engineering station. She was a small woman with short black hair and quick eyes. She looked at the data on Taeho's screen and frowned. "The signal is coming from coordinates that should be empty," she said. "There is nothing out there. No stations. No ships. Nothing." Jinho felt something cold move through his chest. In all of human history, they had never found proof of other life in the universe. They had looked. They had hoped. But space had always been silent, until now. "Can you tell what the signal is saying?" Jinho asked. Taeho shook his head. "Not yet, sir. But look at this." He pointed at the screen. "The signal uses mathematical patterns, prime numbers, geometric sequences. This is not random noise. Something intelligent made this." Dr. Woojin Kang entered the bridge. He was the ship's xenobiologist, a scientist who studied the possibility of alien life. He had spent his whole career preparing for a moment that most people said would never come. Now his hands were shaking as he looked at the data. "This is real," Woojin said softly. "This is actually real." 8. Akonoma. Jinho looked at his crew. He saw fear in some eyes, excitement in others. He understood both feelings. They were standing at the edge of something huge, something that would change everything. "We should report this to Earth," said Sergeant Minji Choi. She was the head of security, a serious woman with a scar on her chin from the Mars conflicts. "Let them decide what to do. Earth is 8 hours away by communication," Jinho said. "By the time they answer, whatever is out there might be gone. Or dead." "Dead?" Hana asked. Jinho pointed at the signal pattern. "This is a distress call. Someone is asking for help." The crew looked at each other. Minji crossed her arms. "Sir, we do not know what is out there. It could be dangerous. We have 47 lives on this ship." "I know," Jinho said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke again. "But we also do not leave people stranded in the dark. That is not who we are." He gave the order. The Horizon's Edge changed course. The journey took 6 hours. 6 hours of waiting. 6 hours of wondering. Taeho worked on the signal, trying to find meaning in its patterns. Woojin prepared medical equipment for unknown biology. Minji checked the weapons, just in case. Hana made sure the ship was ready for anything. Jinho did not sleep. He sat in his chair and watched the darkness ahead. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was 15 years old. She wanted to be a pilot like him. He wondered what kind of universe she would grow up in after today. "Captain," Hana said suddenly, "we are approaching the coordinates. I am seeing something on the sensors." Jinho stood up. On screen, the main display flickered. Then it showed something that made everyone gasp. Ships, dozens of ships. They were floating in the darkness like dead leaves on water. They were huge, much bigger than the Horizon's Edge. Their designs were strange and beautiful, with curved hulls and patterns that seemed to glow faintly. But that glow was weak, dying. "I count 17 vessels," Hana said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "They are not moving. Power signatures are almost zero. Life signs? Jinho asked. Woojin checked his instruments. His face went pale. Yes. Thousands of them. But they are faint. Very faint. These beings are dying. Captain. Jinho stared at the screen. 17 ships. Thousands of lives. Strangers from somewhere beyond the stars. They had sent a call for help into the void, probably expecting nothing. Probably expecting to die alone in the cold darkness. But they were not alone. Humanity had heard them. Open a channel, Jinho said. All frequencies. Send a message in mathematical code. Tell them we received their signal. Tell them we are here. Taeho's fingers flew across his controls. The message went out into the dark. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, a light appeared on the largest alien ship. Just a small flicker. But it was there. Someone had seen them. Someone was still alive. Jinho took a deep breath. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if these beings were friendly or dangerous. He did not know if he was making the right choice, but he knew one thing. Those ships were full of people who needed help, and his ship was here. Prepare a shuttle, he said. We are going over there. The crew moved to follow his orders, and in the darkness of space, two species were about to meet for the first time. The shuttle crossed the dark space between the two ships. Inside, Jinho sat with Dr. Woojin, Lieutenant Hana, and Sergeant Minji. Nobody spoke. They watched through the small windows as the alien vessel grew larger and larger. Up close, the ship was even more impressive. Its hull was made of something that looked like dark metal mixed with crystal. Strange symbols covered its surface. They were beautiful, but also sad somehow, like words written by someone who had lost hope. There, Hana said, pointing. An opening. I think it is an airlock. Jinho guided the shuttle toward it. The alien airlock was bigger than human ones, designed for creatures larger than them. The shuttle fit inside easily. When the outer door closed, they waited. Lights flickered above them. Then the inner door opened. The air that came in was cold and thin. It smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Woojin checked his instruments. The air is breathable, he said. But barely. They are running out of everything. They stepped out of the shuttle. The corridor ahead was dark. Only a few weak lights glowed along the walls. The floor was covered with frost. Jinho could see his breath in the air. Stay close, Minji said. She had her hand near her weapon, but she did not draw it. We do not know what we will find. They walked forward. The ship was silent except for their footsteps. It felt like walking through a grave. Jinho tried not to think about how many might have already died here. Then they heard something. A voice. Weak and strange, but definitely a voice. They followed the sound to a large room. When they entered, Jinho stopped. He could not move. He could not speak. There were hundreds of them. Aliens. Living beings from another world. They were tall, almost 2 meters, with thin bodies and long limbs. Their skin was pale gray and covered with patterns that seemed to glow faintly, like stars under their flesh. But the glow was dim. Dying. They were huddled together in groups. Families, Jinho realized. Parents holding children. Old ones sitting with young ones. They had blankets and torn clothes. Some were lying very still. Too still. A figure approached them. It was taller than the others, with deeper patterns on its skin. It walked slowly, as if each step cost great effort. When it stopped in front of Jinho, it spoke. The words were strange, musical sounds that Jinho could not understand. But then Taeho's voice came through the communicator. Captain, I am working on translation. The language has patterns similar to their distress signal. Give me a moment. They waited. The alien waited too. Its eyes, large and dark like deep water, studied Jinho's face. There was no threat in that gaze. Only exhaustion. Only desperate hope. Then Tejo spoke again. I have basic translation working. It is not perfect, but you should understand each other now. The alien spoke again. This time, Jinho heard words he could understand. I am Orin. I lead what remains of my people. We are called Velaran. We have been dying for many months. We did not think anyone would come. Jinho stepped forward. I am Captain Jinho Park. We are humans. From a planet called Earth. We heard your signal. We came to help. Orin was silent for a long moment. Then, something happened to his face. It took Jinho a moment to realize the alien was crying. Clear liquid fell from those dark eyes. Help, Orin repeated. You came to help. Not to take. Not to harm. To help. Yes, Jinho said simply. Orin turned to look at his people. He said something in his own language. Jinho heard gasps. He saw faces turning toward him. He saw more tears. An older Velaran came forward. Her patterns were almost white, and she moved with difficulty. But her voice was strong. I am Elder Mira, she said. I keep the memory of our people. We have traveled the stars for 3 generations. We have met 11 other species. She paused. You are the first to offer help. The first. Do you understand? We thought beings like you were only stories told to children. Wujin stepped forward. What happened to you? Why are your ships without power? Orin explained. The Valoran homeworld was gone. Their sun had grown old and angry. It had swallowed their planet. They had escaped in these ships. Everything they had left. They had traveled for years, looking for a new home, but then their main reactor had failed. The explosion had damaged all the ships. For 11 months, they had been drifting, dying slowly. How many of you are left? Jinho asked. When we started, we were 30,000, Orin said. Now, we are less than 12,000. Many died in the explosion. Many more died from cold and hunger and sickness. We have been giving all food to the children. The old ones have been choosing to die so the young can live longer. Jinho felt his heart break. These people had lost their world. They had lost most of their families. They had been floating in the darkness, waiting for death, for almost a year, and still they had protected their children. Still, they had hoped. Minji, Jinho said quietly. What do we need to save them? Minji did not answer immediately. She was looking at the Velaran children, small figures with dim patterns, holding on to their parents. When she spoke, her voice was rough. More than we have, Captain. We can help some of them, maybe a few hundred. But to save all of them, we need more ships, more supplies, more everything. Jinho nodded. He had known this already. The Horizon's Edge was one small vessel. This was a task for all of humanity. He looked at Orin. We cannot save you alone. But we can call for help. Many ships. Many people. Will you trust us? Orin looked at his people. Then he looked back at Jinho. We have no choice but to trust you, he said. But I think, maybe, for the first time, we do not need a choice. I think you are truly good. Jinho took a deep breath. Then he activated his communicator. Tejo, send a message to Earth. Open channel. Tell them everything. Tell them we found people who need help. Tell them to send everyone they can. He paused. Then he added, tell them, humanity has a chance to show the universe who we really are. Well, the message went out into the stars, and the universe would never be the same. The message reached Earth like a stone thrown into still water. It spread everywhere. News channels played it. Again and again, scientists argued. Politicians shouted. Religious leaders prayed. Ordinary people stared at their screens and tried to understand. Aliens were real. They were dying. A human ship had found them. And now that ship was asking for help. The first reactions were fear. Some people said it was a trick. Others said the aliens were dangerous. Military leaders wanted to send weapons. Governments argued about who was in charge. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone was scared. But then something began to change. A cargo ship near Mars changed its course. The captain sent a simple message. "We have food and medicine. We are coming." A mining company in the asteroid belt sent 3 of their freighters. "Our ships are not fast," they said, "but they are strong. We can carry supplies." A group of engineers on Earth started working on the problem of alien technology. They shared their ideas freely, putting everything on the open network. "We do not need money," they said. "We need solutions." One by one, ships began to move. Big ones and small ones. Military and civilian. Rich company vessels and old family freighters held together with hope and repair tape. They all pointed toward the same coordinates. They all had the same goal. On the Valoran flagship, Jinho watched the messages come in. He could not believe what he was seeing. 200 ships, Tejo said, his voice full of wonder. "More than 200 ships are coming. Captain, they are coming from everywhere." Hana laughed. It was a strange sound in that cold, dying ship. "I thought people would be afraid. I thought they would say no." "Some did," Minji said. She was standing near the door, watching the Valoran families nearby. But not enough, not nearly enough. In the corner of the room, Elder Mira sat with several Valoran children. She was teaching them something, drawing patterns in the frost on the floor. When she heard what Tejo said, she looked up. 200 ships, she repeated slowly. "Your people send 200 ships to help strangers they have never met." "Yes," Jinho said. Mira was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "We were wrong about the universe. We thought it was cold and empty and cruel. We thought survival meant being alone. But you are different. You are so different." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Hana had a problem to solve. The Valoran ships needed power. But their technology was nothing like human technology. Their reactors used crystal formations that converted light into energy, beautiful, elegant, and completely broken. She worked with a young Valoran technician named Belle. Belle was curious and smart, always asking questions. Her glow was stronger than most of the others, probably because she was young and had been given extra food. "Your machines are so loud," Belle said, watching Hana work. "They shake and burn. Ours are quiet, loud and ugly, but they work," Hana replied with a smile. "The question is, can we make them work together?" They tried many things. Human generators could not connect to Valoran systems. The power was wrong. Like trying to put water in a cup made of air. Everything they tried failed. Then Hana had an idea. "We are thinking about this wrong," she said. "We keep trying to fix your systems or replace them with ours. But what if we build something new? Something in between?" She drew diagrams. Belle added her own ideas. They argued and argued again. They worked without sleep, fueled by cold coffee and desperate hope. On the 3rd day, they finished their first adapter. It was ugly. It was held together with tape and wire and prayer. But when they connected it to a small Valoran light panel, something wonderful happened. The panel lit up, bright and strong, the way it was meant to be. Belle stared at it. Her own patterns began to glow brighter in response. Then, she started to cry. "Light," she said. "We have light again." Hana put her arm around the young alien. She did not know if Valorans understood hugs, but Belle leaned into her, and they stood together in that small pool of new light. Word spread quickly. The adapter design was shared with every incoming ship. Engineers began building them by the hundreds. It would take time to make enough for all the Valoran vessels. But now they had hope. Now they had a path forward. Dr. Wujin spent his time learning about the Valoran. He talked with Elder Mira for hours, recording everything she told him. Their history, their art, their beliefs, their lost world. "We called our home Valar," Mira said. "It was beautiful. blue forests and golden skies, mountains that touch the clouds. We lived there for 10,000 years. I am sorry, Woojin said. I am sorry you lost it. Mira looked at him with those deep, dark eyes. Every species loses things. We lost our world. But today, I think we found something else. We found friends. That is a kind of home, too. The days passed. More ships arrived. The darkness around the Valoran fleet filled with human vessels, their lights like a constellation of caring. Food was shared. Medicine was given. Sick Valorans were treated by human doctors who learned alien biology through trial and hope. Not everything was easy. Some humans were still afraid. A small group arrived demanding that the aliens leave human space. Captain Park spoke to them. He did not argue or shout. He simply took them to see the Valoran children. They watched a little Valoran girl playing with a ball of light, laughing for the first time in months. Her patterns glowed pink and blue with happiness. Most of the protesters left quietly. Some of them asked how they could help. On the 10th day, Orin came to find Jinho. The Valoran leader looked different now. Still tired, still marked by his long suffering. But there was something new in his eyes. Something alive. Captain Park, he said. My people want to know why. We have asked many times, but I do not think we understand the answer yet. Why do you help us? What do you want from us? Jinho thought about the question. He thought about his daughter. He thought about all the ships that had come. All the people who had chosen to help instead of fear. We do not want anything from you, he said finally. We help because you needed help. That is what humans do. Or at least, that is what we try to do. That is who we want to be. Orin was silent for a long moment. Then, he did something unexpected. He placed his hand over his heart and bowed his head. Then we will remember, he said. For all our generations to come, we will remember what humans are. We will tell our children and their children after them, you are the ones who came when no one else would. You are the light in the darkness. Jinho felt tears in his own eyes. He did not try to hide them. We are just people, he said. Just ordinary people trying to do the right thing. No, Orin said gently. You are more than that. You just do not know it yet. Outside, another human ship arrived, and another, and another. The rescue continued. And in the cold darkness of space, something warm was being born. 6 weeks had passed since the first human ship found the Valoran fleet. What had started as one small rescue vessel had become the largest gathering of ships in human history. Over 300 vessels now floated in that distant corner of space. Human and Valoran ships mixed together like old friends meeting after a long time apart. The work never stopped. Day and night, humans and Valorans worked side by side. They fixed engines. They shared food. They healed the sick. They learned each other's languages. One word at a time. Sergeant Minji Choi walked through the main corridor of the Valoran flagship. It looked different now. The frost was gone. Lights glowed along the walls. She could hear voices and laughter coming from the rooms around her. She found Commander Orin in a small chamber that served as his office. He was looking at a screen, showing the positions of all the ships. You should sleep, Minji said. Your people need you healthy. Orin made a sound that might have been a laugh. You sound like my sister. She used to say the same thing. Used to? She died in the reactor explosion. Along with my wife and my son. Orin's voice was flat, like a stone dropping into water. Many of us lost family that day. Minji sat down across from him. She understood loss. She had fought in the Mars conflicts. She had held friends as they died. She had buried people she loved. I lost my brother, she said. 5 years ago. A mining accident. Stupid, random, meaningless. I still talk to him sometimes. In my head, I mean. Orin looked at her. His dark eyes were soft. Do you think they hear us? The ones we lost? I do not know. Minji admitted. But I hope so. I hope they see what we are doing here. I hope they are proud. They They sat together in silence for a while. Two soldiers from different worlds, sharing a moment of peace. On another ship, Dr. Woojin was facing a crisis. Several Valoran had become very sick. Their glow was fading fast. Nothing human medicine did seem to help. "It is the adjustment," Healer Sola explained. She was the chief medical officer for the Valoran. Her hands moved constantly as she spoke, a habit of her people. "Our bodies are used to certain foods, certain light, certain air. The human supplies are keeping us alive, but they are also making some of us ill." Woojin rubbed his tired eyes. "What do you need? Tell me exactly, and I will find a way to get it." Sola described the nutrients her people needed, the specific wavelengths of light that their bodies required, the temperature ranges that were best for them. Woojin wrote everything down. "Some of this we can do," he said. "The lights are easy. The temperature we can adjust. The nutrients will be harder. But we have scientists back on Earth working on it." "You will go to this much trouble?" Sola asked. Woojin smiled. "That is the whole point, is it not? We did not come all this way to do half the job." Over the following days, changes were made. Special lamps were installed that gave off the light the Valorans needed. Heating systems were adjusted. Human scientists worked around the clock to create nutrient supplements that matched Valoran biology. Slowly, the sick began to recover. Their glow returned. Their strength came back. Lieutenant Hana and Technician Bell had become a famous team. Together, they had designed the power adapters that saved the Valoran fleet. Now they were working on something even more important. "Your ships can move again," Hana said, looking at the data. "All 17 vessels have power, but they are badly damaged. Long-distance travel is not safe." Bell nodded sadly. "We were going to a planet. We found it before the disaster. It has air and water. It could be our new home, but it is very far away. With our ships in this condition, it would take 40 years to reach." 40 years, Hana repeated. "That is too long. We have no choice. We cannot stay here forever. Your people have been kind, but we cannot ask you to care for us for the rest of our lives." Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at Bell with a strange expression. "What if you did not have to go?" she asked. "What do you mean? What if you stayed? What if we found you a home here, in our solar system?" Bell's patterns flickered with confusion. "But this is your space, your worlds. Why would you share them with us?" Hana smiled. "Because that is what neighbors do." The idea spread quickly. First among the crew of the Horizon's Edge, then to the other human ships, then back to Earth. It was a big decision, huge. Humanity had never shared their worlds with anyone before. There were arguments, debates, fights. Some people said it was too dangerous. Others said there was no room. A few said aliens did not belong in human space. But more people said yes. They had seen the pictures of Valoran children learning to play again. They had heard Elder Mira's stories of loss and hope. They had watched humans and Valorans working together, building something new. The vote in the Earth Council took 3 days. When it ended, the result was clear. 70% said yes. The Valorans would be offered a home on Mars. Captain Jinho was the one who told Commander Orin. They stood together on the bridge of the Valoran flagship, looking out at the stars. "Mars is one of our worlds," Jinho explained. "We have been changing it for many years, making it more livable. There is a region there that matches what your people need. Air they can breathe, light that will keep them healthy, land where they can build." Orin did not respond at first. He just stared out the window. "You are giving us a world," he finally said. His voice was rough. "You are giving us a home. We are sharing it," Jinho corrected. "You will not be our guests. You will be our neighbors, our partners. We will build this future together." Orin turned to face him. Tears were flowing down his face again. His patterns glowed brighter than Jinho had ever seen. "I have led my people through the death of our world," Orin said. "I have led them through starvation and sickness and despair. I thought my only duty left was to lead them to a quiet end. A gentle death. In the cold darkness, he placed his hand on Jinho's shoulder. His grip was strong. Instead, you have given us life, new life, a second chance. How do we ever repay such a gift? Jinho smiled. You do not repay it. You pass it on. Someday, somewhere, you will find someone who needs help, and you will help them. That is how it works. Oren nodded slowly. Then we will make sure to remember. We will help others as you helped us. This will be our promise to humanity. That is all we ask, Jinho said. The preparations began. The Valoran fleet, escorted by human ships, would travel together to Mars. It would take 2 months. 2 months of shared travel, 2 months of building friendships that would last generations. Outside the window, the stars waited. And for the first time, in a very long time, they did not look cold. They looked like possibilities. The convoy moved through space like a river of light. 300 human ships surrounded the 17 Valoran vessels. From far away, it looked like a single creature swimming through the darkness. A creature made of hope and metal and millions of beating hearts. Inside the ships, life went on. People ate together. They worked together. They told stories and shared songs and learned each other's games. Ensign Tejo had become something of a celebrity among the younger Valorans. He had a gift for languages, and he spent his free time teaching human words to alien children. In return, they taught him their language, laughing at his strange accent. Your tongue is too short, a young Valoran named Kai told him seriously. You cannot make the singing sounds properly. Tejo smiled. Then I will just have to practice more. On the Valoran flagship, Elder Mira worked with Dr. Wujin to create something important. They were writing a history. Not just of the Valoran people, but of this moment, this meeting between two species, this choice that changed everything. Future generations will read this, Mira said as she recorded her words. Valoran children who were not yet born. Human children who are still learning to walk. They will read about what happened here, and they will know that kindness is possible, that strangers can become family. Do you really believe that? Wujin asked. Mira looked at him with her ancient, knowing eyes. I did not believe it before. I was old and tired and ready to die. But your people taught me something I had forgotten. Hope is not a feeling, it is a choice. And sometimes, when you choose hope, the universe chooses to help. The weeks passed. Mars grew larger in the windows. Red and brown and beautiful, it waited for them like a promise. Captain Jinho spent his days walking through the convoy. He visited every ship he could. He talked to humans and Valorans alike. He wanted to remember every face, every story, every moment. One evening, he found himself alone with Commander Oren on an observation deck. They watched Mars turning slowly in front of them. I have been thinking, Oren said, about what you told me. About passing kindness forward. Send sighed, yes, my people were not always good. In our history, there were wars, cruelty, selfishness. We are not perfect, Jinho nodded. Neither are we. Humans have done terrible things to each other. We still do. Sometimes, we are not perfect either, but you try, Oren said. That is what matters, is it not? Not being perfect. Just trying to be better. I think so, Jinho agreed. I think that is the best any of us can do. The landing day arrived. The Valoran ships could not enter the atmosphere of Mars, so shuttles were used. Hundreds of trips back and forth, carrying people to the surface. It took 3 days to bring everyone down. The landing site was in a valley. It had been prepared ahead of time. Human workers had built temporary shelters. They had set up the special lights and heating systems that the Valorans needed. They had planted the first trees from seeds the Valorans had saved from their home world. When Elder Mira stepped off her shuttle, she stood very still. For 3 generations, her people had known only the metal floors of ships. They had lived their entire lives in space. Now there was ground beneath her feet. Real ground. Stone and soil and the beginning of life. She knelt down slowly, her old joints protesting. She touched the red earth of Mars with her thin fingers. Then she began to speak in her own language. The words were soft and musical. "What is she saying?" Sergeant Minji asked. She was standing nearby with Commander Oren. "It is a blessing," Oren translated. "She is thanking the land for receiving us. She is promising that we will care for it. She is asking for peace. She is asking for peace." Minji felt tears on her face. She did not try to wipe them away. All around the valley, Valorans were touching the ground for the first time. Some were crying. Some were laughing. Many were doing both. Children ran and jumped and fell down and got up again, amazed by the feeling of open space around them. Lieutenant Hana found Technician Bell standing apart from the others. The young Valoran was looking up at the sky. "Are you okay?" Hana asked. "I am looking for Valar," Bell said quietly. "Our old son. It should be visible from here. If you know where to look." Hana stood beside her friend. "Can you find it?" Bell pointed at a faint star near the horizon. "There. That small light. That is where my grandmother was born. Where my mother played as a child. Where my entire species lived for thousands of years. Does it make you sad? To see it from so far away?" Bell was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "A little sad, yes, but also grateful. We could have died there. When the sun grew angry. Instead, we escaped. We survived. And now we have this." She gestured at the valley around them. At the humans and Valorans together. "This is worth some sadness, I think." Hana took her hand. "You are right, it is." A month later, the first permanent buildings were finished. Valoran architecture was different from human style. Their structures curved and flowed, covered with the same crystal patterns as their ships, but they stood next to human buildings without conflict. Different, but together. There was a ceremony on the day the last building was completed. Thousands of people gathered in the main square of the new settlement. Humans and Valorans stood mixed together. Neighbors and friends. A monument stood in the center of the square. It showed two hands reaching toward each other. One was human, with 5 fingers. The other was Valoran, with 4 long digits. They did not quite touch. Instead, they reached across the space between them, frozen in the moment before connection. Words were carved into the base, written in both languages. "We found each other in the dark. We walked into the light together." Captain Jinho stood before the crowd. He had not wanted to give a speech. He was a ship captain, not a politician. But people had asked, and he found he could not refuse. "I do not know what to say," he began. "I am not good with words. But I know what I have seen. I have seen two peoples who had never met learn to work together. I have seen fear turn into friendship. I have seen the best of what we can be." He looked at Commander Oren, standing nearby with his people. 11 months ago, a signal came out of the darkness. A call for help from strangers. We had a choice. We could have ignored it. We could have been afraid. We could have said it was not our problem. His voice grew stronger. Instead, we chose to help. Not because we had to, not because we would gain something. We chose to help because that is who we want to be. Humans who reach out instead of turning away. Humans who build bridges instead of walls. He turned to look at the monument. This is not the end of a story. It is the beginning. The Valoran people are our neighbors now. Our partners, our friends. Together, we will face whatever the universe brings. Together, we will reach for the stars. He stepped back. The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, the applause began. Humans and Valorans, clapping and cheering together. Elder Mira came forward. She was crying again, but her glow was bright. She took Jinho's hand in hers. "Thank you," she said. "Not just for saving us. Thank you for showing us that the universe is not as cold as we believed. Thank you for being exactly who you are." Jinho did not know what to say, so he just squeezed her hand and smiled. That night, There was a celebration. Music from both worlds played together, creating something new and strange and beautiful. People danced under the stars. They ate food that mixed human and Valoran recipes. They told stories and laughed and cried. Captain Jinho stood at the edge of the celebration, watching. Sergeant Minji came to stand beside him. "You should join them," she said. "You deserve to celebrate." "In a moment," Jinho replied. "I just want to remember this. All of it." He looked up at the night sky of Mars. The stars were the same as they had always been. But somehow, they looked different now. Brighter. More welcoming. Out there, somewhere, were other species. Other worlds. Other people waiting to be found. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but now humanity knew something important. They knew they were not alone, and they knew that when they reached out to the stars, they would reach out with open hands, not to conquer, not to take, to help, to share, to build something beautiful together. That was the human way, and it always would be. Above the celebration, the stars continued their ancient dance. And somewhere in the galaxy, perhaps, other signals were waiting. Other calls for help that would one day be answered. The story was just beginning.